Okay, I think we're nearly there. 2 more seconds. Fantastic. Okay, so great stuff, guys. Really excited to have on our Mind the Property Lee Roebeck, our monthly update on how to keep our mindset in check for a successful property business. And I always say that no matter what we do, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but without the right mindset, you're never going to be really successful. And this particular topic of conversation that we're talking about today, which is all about what you know and what you do, and inherently they tend to be quite different. We know what we need to do, and in fact Lee and I were talking about just before we came on, but whether we do it is another thing. So just some general rulings here. I wonder if we've got everyone. I know this is a bit earlier than our normal my normal other rooms, but if guys, everyone could just ping some people to come and join us in here, that would be amazing. So if you know of let's say 6 people, if you could just ping them and invite them here, that would be really amazing, so that we can have some more people joining us and yeah, spreading the good word that we have here. So I'm just doing that myself, just inviting a few people. Fantastic. So that's all been sent. So Kathy has said hi. Yeah, really great to see you on here, Kathy. Lovely to see you. So yet again, if I will keep reminding people, if you could all just ping a few people so we can start bringing some more people on. And we are also live on YouTube. So if you want to follow up with this afterwards, because there are so many fantastic nuggets that I know we will be covering, you can come back and re-listen on my YouTube channel, which is Emma Howitt Pure Abodes. We also break these videos down into shorter videos as well, which is really useful. Okay, Lee, so please could you introduce yourself for those who, for anyone who doesn't know you, who might be new to you, please can you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Emma. Good afternoon or good morning up in the UK there to you, John, Thomas, Kathy. Hope you guys are doing well. So my name is Lee Roebeck, and I'm a mindset coach, and I work with entrepreneurs from all around the world. Emma being one of them, Kathy also being one of them. Kathy who's online here with us today. And I was personally mentored by the legendary Bob Proctor for the last 5 years of his life. You know, spent a lot of time, at least 4, 5, 6 day trainings with him in person in LA and in Toronto. So, I mean, Bob's reputation speaks for itself, and, you know, all of the ideas that the systems and the toolbox that I've handed to Emma with regards to mindset and that I've handed to Kathy have been the tools that Bob has given to me. So, so really love, you know, the work I do in terms of mindset and helping entrepreneurs remove money blocks and attract clients easily. And it's always such a pleasure having a chat with you here on a monthly basis, Emma.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. So, yeah, I mean, I suppose the reason I set up these whole rooms on a monthly basis is purely because I saw the difference. And in fact, as we said, we touched on this before. I am inherently a mother of 3, you know, wife, you know, daughter, multiple business owners. I have multiple activities that I do. And 2.5 years ago, it was not a healthy looking scenario. And I'd really got to that stage where I couldn't see any other way, and spoke to Lee. And inherently, he said to me, which I clearly did not believe, but it seemed quite a ballsy statement. He said to me, if you come with me, Emma, in 6 months' time, you'll look back and you won't recognize where you are or where you've come from. And I thought, wow, that is pretty big stuff. And he wanted, you know, we were discussing, you know, a coaching program. And I was just thinking, oh, I can't really afford to do this. but I thought I can't afford not to at this stage. And wow. The changes and the differences and the calmness. Now, let's be realistic. Does stuff, in inverted commas, still happen? Absolutely. Of course, things happen. And in fact, I think the more successful you become, I think the more stuff, so to speak, that happens to you. But successful people have a way of dealing with them and understanding how to do it. So that's why I asked Lee if he would really kindly join me for this year to come in and give the feedback and help other people see what I saw in this program and how Lee has supported me. And funnily enough, very early on, and I have mentioned this to Lee before, I thought one of my kind of dreams was, wow, I'd love to be able to work with Lee. He's just such an inspiring person. I'd love to be able to do that. And look at this. We're here now. And that is one of the things that's happening. So yeah, I feel incredibly fortunate to have Lee on here and to be able to share his good words. But let's not digress too much more. So today we are talking about, the power of praxis. Did you want to, just sort of kick off and kind of introduce everyone to this, which was until a couple of years ago completely new and I'd never even heard of it?
So, Emma, as you know, praxis is it's a really powerful word, and in psychology circles, it's really been used a lot more, and it's carrying this weight with it. This particular word. Now, I'll be honest. When I started my study into mindset, I had no idea what the word praxis meant. I literally had no idea, and a lot of the people I speak to, they've never heard of the word before. Now, if you go and look at this word, praxis, the dictionary definition is so simple. It's taking your idea from theory to practical, and the title of this lesson that Emma and I are doing here today is all about integrating what you know with what you do. It's often easy, if it's someone from the pulpit, we say they've got to practice what they preach, right? It's easy to say something, but the results always tell the truth. The behavior tells the truth. It tells you exactly where your mindset is programmed. So in terms of setting that up, Emma, that's pretty much it. Our hope here today is that you gain an understanding on how to integrate what it is that you know with what it is that you do. And also, the older we get, we gather more knowledge, we know more, we've got more information, but we seem to be doing less. And that creates huge frustration and confusion. So our hope is that we show you how to close this gap between what you know and what you do by implementing praxis.
Amazing. And this is a really interesting one. So as you said, as you get older, what we know and what we do becomes bigger and bigger. And in fact, I've got a really interesting one. My 17-year-old son, he has had we've had a few days of a little bit of a turbulence in the family, let's say. But inherently what's happened is he's started to get those life knocks, and he's started to get that tough, the tough reality that can come at times. And I believe, and again, I'm not him, so I can't speak for it, but what I'm seeing is potentially a bit of knock of confidence. I think when we're young, don't we think we can achieve the world, and he's had a few knocks. He's really successful at a lot of things, but he is reining back the big goals, because I think now he's had a few knocks, and it's pulling him back. So it's something that I see. And in fact, in my book here, it says, if at first you don't succeed, then dust yourself off and try again, Alia. But that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because when we're young, a lot of us have this kind of drive and this power to achieve things or whatever it is. And those kind of knocks along the way, they kind of brush off us, don't they? And we might be you know, you're usually surrounded by all your friends and it's really jolly, isn't it? Let's remember, you know, teenage in your 20s, it should be a time where you've had you're out, you're probably maybe drinking, socializing. Generally, you're being, you know, probably a little bit naughty. So it's all a bit exciting and fun. And then as life then hits in, you might meet a life partner, you might get married, you have kids, and then suddenly life gets a bit more serious, doesn't it? And then when you get hit with these things, it becomes more challenging to brush these problems off, and it becomes really tough. And then you meet people, and as I do, and as you do, I know, Lee, you meet people, especially for me in the property world, that they understand what they need to do. They've done courses, they've done training, they know what they need to do, but each month it's kind of like, well, did you manage to do that? And there'll be some excuse, oh, I didn't do it because of this. And we've all got the excuses, haven't we? And inherently, we don't want to kind of admit to ourselves. So is it that kind of, is that why over the years we get to that stage where it can be so disparate, where people do tend to take this kind of almost downward tunnel?
So I think what you're referring to there, Emma, with regards to, you know, life kind of affecting us at a deep level is emotional impacts, right? So throughout our lives, we've been knocked around, you know, loss of a job, losing a loved one, you know, this happens, losing a relationship that was really dear to you. And, you know, all these things happen and go straight into the emotional mind, affects your confidence, just like, is it AJ, your boy?
Oscar,
you know, just like Oscar, you know, affect your confidence. And that goes straight into the paradigm, the program. And here you gather all of this knowledge, you know, you go to a great a training like Touchstones programs where you gather all of these strategies on how to execute, you know, becoming more effective at property investing. But what's happening deep in your subconscious mind, or from a mindset perspective, is lack of confidence or sensitivity to hearing the word no. You know, all ideas around that's basically holding you back. That's basically in there, that's non-productive ideas. And people really don't understand, not many people really understand the mindset. And my mentor, Bob Proctor, he used to say that success is 5% strategy, 95% mindset, 95%. And the more I study into this, the more I realize he was so spot on, because people get hung up on the strategy. Like we've got all these great strategies, right, with Touchstone, but people gather that knowledge intellectually, they have it up in their conscious mind, and until we move it into the subconscious so it changes our behavior, not much is going to change. You know, we were raised with the idea, Emma, that knowledge is power. Knowledge is no such thing. You can have all the knowledge in the world. If you don't step out and act on it, it's useless. Applied knowledge, that's where the power is. It's the applied knowledge. So people need to understand how the mindset works and how to change the ideas at that deep level to align it with what it is that they want. They've got to integrate what they know with what it is that they do. Mm-hmm. And if I may, you know, there's just one thing I want to touch on. That's why a lot of people, you know, they get into personal development. I mean, I've heard stories of some people being, you know, studying self-help and personal growth for 10 years or 5 years. One of my mentors, 3 years he was at it, and nothing changed. The mentor I'm talking about is Arash Vasugi. And when he met our mentor, Bob Proctor, Bob said, you don't know these ideas, you know about it. Because he said the results always tell the truth. He says, I can just look at your results and I know exactly what's happening at the deep level. So this is why people are disillusioned with personal development, because they spend years studying this stuff, gathering the information, you know, really serious about improving their lives and the lives of their family. Like, I think, you know, that's why we get into personal development, is to really improve our situations, health-wise, relationally, financially, business-wise. And then we studied, and not much on the outside changes. And that's why people become disillusioned, right? Because, I mean, I've heard of people that eventually they say, you know, the stuff doesn't work, I'm not studying it. But the thing is, they've never understood how to take it from that surface level of their mind to that depth that's going to make a real difference.
Yeah, I love that. I think you were just explaining my life there, Lee. I mean, I literally, from starting, I started in a corporate career with L'Oreal, and they were really big on, you know, in those days it was tapes. So I remember driving really long distances and listening to these tapes, and I just was never that interested in fictional books. So I just jumped straight into, I just loved voraciously learning about stuff like that. I loved it. But as the years went by, I just noticed that other people seemed to be doing better and better. And although I did do great things, it wasn't necessarily the things that I wanted to do or wanted to achieve. And I didn't really understand it. So it just then made me want to read more books and learn more things about sort of self-development and all of those kind of things. And it wasn't until literally I met you that I suddenly was given a path of exactly how to change. So how, with that knowledge, how to make it work for you. Because inherently in this kind of, you know, walk straight into this kind of my thoughts around excuses. And I don't want that to sound negative, because I don't mean it to sound negative, but it's just the best description of what I'm going to say. So everyone does, let's say, a course. I'm just thinking like rent to rent, where, you know, in property, where people rent a property and then they legally sublet it to, say, a guest, like a service accommodation person or a tenant in an HMO, something like that. Now, what happens is it's basically a numbers game. It's like like any kind of sales, it's a numbers game. And I always give them kind of something that I call my 3 sheets. And one of them is, you know, the kind of the way you can find carrots to dangle in front of an agent, what you can dangle in front of a landlord, you know, those kind of questions to try and find their pain points. And then the third one is literally a piece of paper with 10 circles on it. And in those circles, you've got no. Every single circle, you write no. And then I say to them, so every time you get a no, I want you to be really excited that you're crossing it off, because you're one step closer to that yes. And it's not just going to be one sheet of paper. It could be many, many sheets of paper, because initially we might be doing it really wrong, mightn't we? We might be saying completely the wrong things. We might be just talking to completely the wrong people. We might just have people that it is a genuine no for them. You are not answering or you're not solving any of their problems. So it's a genuine no. But what happens is people still come back, you know, let's say a month later, and they might, and it'll be like, how's it going? Did you get your rent to rent? No. You know, well, this happened, and, you know, my child did this, and then this else happened, and all these things. And you know, and I hear it in myself, Lee, which makes me laugh. But, you know, what is that, Lee? How can we get to that stage where we understand that those, what you might call excuses, get in the way? How can we see those for what they are, which is inherently things that are ourselves blocking? Because that was a big thing for me. Until I realized that I have complete and utter control of what's happening to my life, I don't always know how to change it, but I know that I have that control.
So I think the first part of that, Emma, is we need to get really honest with ourselves. So you need to take a pen and a piece of paper and write out the results that you're getting. So, you know, I contact 5 landlords for 2-3 days, and then I fall back into old patterns where I just go back to being afraid, or, you know, falling back into the old pattern. So you write out your result exactly the way it is. And then look at it and then use your imagination or just use your intellectual faculties to flip to the opposite side, and then take another piece of paper and say, okay, so that's the way it currently is, and I'm not happy with these results. What would be the ideal results? And then on this fresh piece of piece of paper, write out the result exactly the way you'd like it to be. So I'm so happy and grateful, and you always want to write it in a positive, with positive language, because that deep part of your mind, the subconscious mind, is your emotional mind. That's where these habits are lodged, and the language of the subconscious is emotion. So you want to write with a lot of positive emotion. I'm so happy and grateful now that every day I reach out to 10 landlords. I do it every day. And, regardless of the response I get, I stay on course, I'm confident, and I get things done. Whatever that statement is, I'm just making things up here as I go ahead. But you want to write something really powerful that's direct opposite of that, And then you might write something like, sales have been attracted to me all day, from whatever sources or whatever. And, but write something that's meaningful to you, and record it, rewrite it 5-10 times a day, affirm it. That's how you're going to move this idea. And this goes totally against the grain of how we've been trained in terms of education, because we've been trained to read something, and once you've read it, you've got it, right? That's it. But that's not how we get ideas into that deep part of the mindset. It's either through an emotional impact or constant spaced repetition over a long period of time. With regard to your question around, people reaching out to prospects, I think as I was listening to you, Emma, one of the first things from a mindset perspective that you're going to have to shift if you are reaching out to people in any form of selling, right? Anything you're selling, is you need to quickly desensitize to hearing the word no. I mean, we got to accept hearing the word no as a salesperson. It's part of the game. You literally, but here's the thing, and this is how mindset or psychology is so critical to your success. When you were a little kid, you came into this world and you worked for everybody's approval. Your mom, your dad, the aunts, the uncles, your coaches, your teachers. We literally worked for their approval. And here we are, we carry that addiction to the approval of others, we carry it into our adulthood. And here someone might be sitting at 40, 50, even 60, 70 years old, and they're still addicted to the approval of others. So when they pick up the phone to phone a landlord or get in contact with somebody, and they hear the word no, they associate that as that rejection or with emotional pain, because they're addicted to the approval of others. Now, here's the thing, and I said it in a different way earlier, I'm going to rephrase it. You've got to emotionally desensitize to hearing the word no. Or let's say systematically desensitized to hearing the word no. And exactly, the exercise you gave him, 10 circles, one no, you cross it, no. And it's all a mind game. It's literally a mindset game. Because the thing is, that no is more indicative of them. It has nothing to do with you, right? You might be sitting on the greatest product or service that can change their lives, and they say no. Their paradigm or their situation or their programming is getting in their way. It's got nothing to do with you. I mean, yes, we can become more effective communicators. We can become more effective salespeople. And if you're using a strategy in Touchstone, which requires you to sell an idea to somebody, you want to be studying selling every day. Selling is simply a mind game. Selling is a mind game. It's understanding your mind, getting the right ideas in there, but then also understanding, more importantly, your prospect's mind and how to get them to see a picture clearer of what it is that you can do for them and how to help them. People buy on emotion. People are going to use you as an agent, as a managing agent, or somebody who's going to run their service accommodation. They're going to use you based on emotion. People buy on emotion. They don't buy on logic. And yes, initially we might need to communicate on that level, but we need to learn how to effectively sell from an emotional perspective. Now, this is also, once again, Emma, learning yourself how to close that gap between what you know and what you do. Because a lot of salespeople have all the strategies in the world. They know how to overcome objections. You give them these tools, right? But that does not necessarily mean they're going to do it. And, that's why these ideas we talk about is so important for us to get it into that deep part of your mind. So maybe just, I know you've seen this and Kathy's seen this image many times, but for those of for those of you that are online and watching the video, Bridget and John and Kathy listening to this over Clubhouse, I'm going to try and explain it. So on the video here, I've got a little model of the mind, and I want to talk about the two different parts of your mind. We've got a big, and I want you to, if you've got a pen and paper in front of you, John and Bridget, draw a big circle at the top of a page, like a biggish circle. And below that, draw a smaller circle. And the bigger circle, I want you to divide it in two. I want you to draw a horizontal line down the middle of the top big circle. So you're dividing the top circle into two, the top half and the bottom half. And in the bottom circle, I want you to put two arms on there and put two legs. So just two lines on the top, two lines at the bottom, arms and legs. And then I want you to put the neck. So put a line joining the top big circle to the bottom circle. Have you got that down, John and Bridget? If you can let us know in the chat here on Clubhouse. Now, the big circle there represents your mind. And the mind is divided into two. The top half of your mind being the conscious thinking mind, and the bottom half being the subconscious emotional mind. Can you hear me, Emma?
Yeah, absolutely. I've just put a link into the to show a picture of the stick man.
Thank you. Thanks, Emma. So you've got the top half, which is the conscious mind, and the bottom half, which is the subconscious mind. And the circle at the bottom is the body. Now, you go to a program, you attend a program, you go to, these sessions with Touchstone, you get all these strategies, like the three that Emma's just mentioned, and you know how to reach out. I mean, we all know how to pick up the phone and reach out to 10 people every day. We know how to do that. But you've got the strategy here, and you don't necessarily do it. That's because the mindset, the program, the paradigm that controls what this body does, dictates the behavior of the body, that program resides in your subconscious emotional mind. So you got the knowledge up here, and you're not doing it. So, I just wanted to show you this model of the mind, and, Emma wanted to show you the model of the mind to explain that the knowing part of your mind and the doing part, totally different. Totally different. You might know how to do it, and does not necessarily mean you're going to do it. So, yeah, Napoleon Hill, he used to say, and Emma, you've heard this before, Kathy. Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich, one of the greatest success teachers of all time, he used to say, he wrote that there's a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. No one's ready for a thing until they believe that they can acquire it. The state of mind must be belief and not mere hope or wish. So if we look at this model of the mind again, the hoping and the wishing comes from the conscious thinking mind. That's an intellectual thing. Belief, faith, that's an emotional game. And you've got to take those strategies, those ideas, and you've got to make it part of your belief system. You've got to move it into your emotional mind. And, that's why knowing how to change the mindset and, actively doing it on a daily basis is so important. But it's the understanding we need to gain first in terms of the model of the mind and how to integrate those ideas into the paradigm so that the behavior changes. And, these ideas we're talking about, the more, and if these are new ideas you're listening, come back to it, listen to, watch this presentation or this session of Emma's, watch it again and watch it again and watch it again. And I promise you, through the repetition, eventually you're going to gain the awareness. And once you gain the awareness and the understanding on how the mindset works, then you can look at your results and say, okay, the results tell the truth. Now, I know how to do better, but by using this mindset model and, these daily tools, I can integrate those ideas, those strategies, so that it becomes a part of my behavior and I do it automatically. So we've got to understand the mind, Emma, if I can hand it back over to you there.
Yeah, I mean, incredible. And I would I want to come back onto that in a moment, but about this kind of repetition, but it is just so brilliant to keep hearing all these things. It's just so key. But one of the things that I find really interesting, and this kind of springs me back to ideas that kind of Bob talks about. And when you look at studying, the most successful salespeople, we want to, don't we? We want to compartmentalize them. And it could be when we look at the most successful, like rent-to-renters, the most successful property investors, we want to kind of pick out something that they've got that I don't have. They've got money, or they've got age, or they've got beauty, or we literally clutch at straws, don't we, as something that this person has got that I don't have, and that enables me to say, well, that's why I'm not so successful. But inherently, when we look at it, and I remember there was a lady when I actually sold books door to door in America, so away from home. And there was this one lady who was just incredible. And we all wanted to have an opportunity to follow this lady, Tessa, she was called. And she had years and years, she'd been doing it, let's say, for 5 years. And consistently, she did really, really well. So anyway, I remember it was my day to go and follow Tessa. I was so excited. And I was thinking, oh, she's going to show me a thing or two. My life's going to be changed after seeing her. Anyway, rocked up. And she was just, no disrespect at all, but she was just a very, very normal person. She wasn't particularly jolly. She wasn't particularly sad. She wasn't particularly beautiful, fit, any of that. She was just a really normal, perfectly nice person. And I remember thinking and being quite disappointed at the end of the day that there wasn't some huge explosion. She didn't do some jiggery pokery. There was no magic involved. There was no physical forcing people to do things. It was just the same old stuff day in, day out. Clearly that she did. But at that stage, when I was probably in my 21, I found it really hard to see that. Now, looking back now, I see that she just did the same stuff. She just did what worked, which was get up early in the morning, get stuff ready, organize her day, go and knock on as many doors as she possibly can throughout the day, say pretty much the same old spiel, talk about other people who'd signed up, and then keep going. If they said yes, if they said no, answer some objections. But inherently, if they weren't a sale, she would just leave, knock on the next door and the next door and the next door and the next door. But at the time, I had this massive expectation of what it was. And when I look back, and even now, when I hear a no, it does go back. So even, when I hear somebody, I talk to a landlord, and I'm sort of, wanting to talk to them about potential opportunities, maybe me doing a rent to rent, maybe me purchasing his property. And there's this kind of immediate no. It is like this kind of stab. It's like, oh, because it's like a personal, oh, you've done something wrong. But I know to just kind of sit there and think, well, it's nothing to do with me. And actually, I find it much easier over the years I've seen that when I'm selling somebody else's product, oh, I mean, that's a breeze. Because it's nothing to do with me. It doesn't matter if they say yes or no, because it's somebody else's product. And I've really noticed that when I sell someone else's stuff, it's so much easier. If it's my stuff, suddenly all these crazy issues become in the way. But one of the things that was a real change for me, and I know you really pointed this out to me quite early on, and I say this a lot to people that I'm coaching, is don't be selfish. Okay, so if you've got a landlord, so for instance, if you're looking for a rent to rent and there's a landlord who has pain, who has problems, they may have had nightmare tenants, they may be getting really old and they just want their time back to spend with their grandkids. They might have a house that they can't afford to do some refurb, not very much money, but they can't afford to do it. They might be in whatever their situation. And if we go in and we don't make that call, that person's going to continue with that pain. Whereas you could actually make that call, knock on that door, go to that networking event, write that letter, whatever it might be. And that could solve someone else's problem. And again, I hear people saying, oh, I'm not going to go on social media talking about what I do. And I really say to them, look, remember that I might be, too many miles ahead of somebody who's just started, who literally was like me 4.5 years ago, started with nothing, no knowledge, no real money, and somebody way ahead who's just converted a property into a hotel. That might be too many steps ahead. Whereas you, if you're only 1 or 2 steps ahead, even if you don't have your first rent to rent, but you're getting out there, you're taking that action, you're knocking on the doors, you're going networking, you're doing those things, that is real inspiration for somebody who's 2 steps away from you. So again, it's looking at not being kind of selfish in holding it back, looking at what is it in my sales process, or what is it that I'm offering to the world, to others who it can help. Am I helping, purchase a property? Is that going to help them buy their dream home? Is that going to help them downsize? Is that going to help them do all of those things? And we don't know those things. And that's where, the sales process can come in with asking open questions and all of those kind of things. But I think that was a big thing for me, was seeing that inherently really successful people are no different to us. They just get on and do stuff. And then it's kind of looking at, well, if there's something, and for me it was really helpful, there's something at one of those things that can help you push through that, is knowing that you are really genuinely helping people and looking at it from that perspective, rather than being a pain, like a flea in someone's ear, being really annoying and knocking on that door. You're not a flea, and inherently, if you can't help them, you can't help them, and that's fine, isn't it? You can just kind of walk away. But I wondered, Lee, if you might, this whole kind of repetition part, just reiterate, because I know you mentioned it earlier, but this whole kind of comparison of repetition and emotional impact. So when I first came to you, I'd done all these years of study, and it wasn't getting there. So I had the no, but I wasn't doing the do. And it wasn't until you gave me this ability to do, you've already spoken about these non-productive activities, and in fact I think I'm putting a post out, it might even be tomorrow, all about those non-productive activities and productive activities, and rewriting them and how that can help. I wonder if you might share that to help people again to understand this way that we know but we don't necessarily do.
So, like I stated earlier, Emma, and maybe before we get into how to shift the ideas in there, those excuses that we make in terms of looking at someone else, and they're more beautiful, they've got this specific talent that we don't have. just by the fact that someone else is accomplishing or doing what it is that you want to do. That's positive proof that you can do it. Their paradigm, just like this lady you mentioned,
Tessa.
what did you say? Tessa. Tessa's paradigm or program, just like you say, she was a normal person. And regardless of how you look at someone else or put them on a pedestal, I guarantee you they are pretty normal people. They've just formed the habit of doing things that failures don't like to do. In fact, Albert Ian Gray done a lecture many years ago. He was leading a number of people who all wanted to become successful, and they were asking him for help, to achieve a certain level of success in the business they were in. And he realized that he did not know how to get them there. He didn't know what the common denominator of success was. And he went on to study biographies, autobiographies, dissertations, and the lives of many successful people. And he came to the simple conclusion that success lies in forming the habit of doing things failures don't want to do. Now, that's exactly what Tessa was doing on a daily basis, right? Emma, you said it now. She had the habit of doing things that most people don't like to do. Now, here's the thing. People don't like to pick up the phone. Most people don't like to pick up the phone and cold call or, put themselves out there, go to a networking event or, go up to somebody and offer your product or service. Most people don't like to do that. But successful people form the habit of doing it because they've got a bigger purpose or they've got a bigger goal. It's tied into something much bigger. And, also something that struck me when I was listening to you, Emma, success is simple. Now, I want to say that again. It's really simple. It's in forming simple rituals or simple habits every day. Like we all know how to be successful at having a nice body. That's simple. Go and exercise every day. Make the right choices with regards to food. Get a personal trainer. Get some knowledge on how to look after your body. And then do it. But the thing is, people have that knowledge, but they don't do it, right? So how do we do it? So this is now answering your final question, Emma. The emotional mind, you're only going to move an idea or a habit into emotional mind. One of two ways. One is an emotional impact. Bang. It's like a jolt to your system. I've already mentioned loss of a job, loss of a loved one, loss of a relationship. 9/11 for the people in America. That is an extremely negative emotional impact. But here's the thing with emotional impact. It can be positive, but here's the thing. Generally, we cannot control it. The other way to move an idea from your conscious thinking mind, from the knowing part into the doing part, into your subconscious, is through constant spaced repetition over and over and over and over. Repetition is the first law of learning. When you were a kid at school and you learned addition, your teacher took you on to subtraction. You didn't, or you maybe got that initially easily, but then they took you to multiplication, and then it became a bit tougher. And then you got it, and then you kind of forgot it, or you kind of didn't get it. And then your teacher showed you again, and again, and again, and again, until you eventually figured it out. But that's what this repetition does, is creates awareness, and it sinks the ideas into a deep part of your mind. So an example, Emma spoke about NPAs and PAs. Let's say the habit or the productive action that you would like to make a part of you, of your behavior, comes naturally, is you would like to reach out to 10 landlords or 10 property investors every single day. What I'd do if I was you, I'd write a simple statement. And once again, started with positive language. I am so happy and so grateful now that I calmly reach out to 10 prospects every day. I have a mutually beneficial conversation with everybody I speak to. And you just rewrite it. I find a way to help them. I find a way to serve them. And you just rewrite that over and over and over and over. And you do that every day, even if it takes you 30 days, 60 days. You rewrite it every day until you start seeing that it's a natural, normal part of what it is that you do. And then you move on to another idea. Now, a lot of people will hear this, but the repetition, that's work, right? Repetition is work. But that's the only way that you can integrate what it is that you know with what it is that you do. Only way, through repetition, Emma.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. And I love when you said success is simple and it comes down to, rituals and habits. You might want to just mute Lee. And that brings me back to another really successful kind of property guru who's out there who has a really great podcast. So Dan Hill, the Blueprint podcast. It's all about property and business. And he says exactly that. His kind of tagline is success and failure are both very predictable. And that was quite shocking when I first heard that and him say that. And I kind of thought, really? I don't know that I agree with that. And then again, what is it that he is talking about? What is it that he is coaching? What does he cover? And inherently it's following, exactly as you said, these rituals, these routines, these habits. And he runs his business very cyclical. So it's summer, it's doing certain things. In the autumn, it's preparing for the next year. Over the winter, it's kind of implementing, and in the spring, it's going out there and absolutely, reaping that harvest of all that hard work that you've done before. And then it comes back into sort of habit. So exactly as you said, the first thing when I understand it, when people join up, they have to have had certain things in place. So it's kind of like, they have to, before, I don't know, but let's say 10:30 in the morning, done 10,000 steps. They have to have done varying things. They also have to have a VA, a PA, and an EA. Okay, because he believes if you value your time so little that you haven't got these people in place, then he doesn't want to work with you. He only wants to work with people that have got, a virtual assistant that takes care of all that administrative stuff. And I have to say, no matter where you are in your journey, everyone can afford that. Then you've got your PA, and that's obviously a personal assistant. So somebody who maybe is does a few more things. They might screen your calls. They might, it's at the stage where you could, they're organizing your life inherently. And then your executive assistant, they're the people that have already, spoken to the meetings. They've already planned out, they've mapped out the meeting. So inherently all you do is you rock up, and 5 minutes before you're handed this maybe sheet of paper, or you just have a conversation. This is why you're having this meeting. This is what you're going to talk about. This is the information that you need. And boom, you just walk in. So suddenly I just think, my gosh, that person who has that whole support, imagine them following all these rituals, all these habits, all these routines, like we've been talking about. You're keeping your mind in place, a huge part of it. And then you're only working on strategic goals and strategic activities. It is literally very predictable, isn't it? Whether you're going to be successful or whether you're not. And that was, incredibly, I suppose, kind of mind-blowing, incredibly beneficial, because I do think sometimes we get to the stage. Liberating. You are exactly right, because we get to the stage where, as we started off with, life does knock us at times, and it can be something completely out of the blue, whether it's, my mother-in-law is really going downhill with dementia. I mean, totally unexpected, well, not unexpected. I suppose she's getting older, but you never expect it to happen. And certainly when you view it, I didn't expect, you know, her talking about going to visit her mother yesterday. You know, it made me burst into tears. It was suddenly like, wow, that is just, you know, unexpected. And these things come and hit us. But does that mean that, you know, I can't carry on life because it might happen to me? Of course not. I mean, that's never going to happen. But we'll have property things that come and hit us. You know, a deal will fall out of bed, or we will have had many sheets of no's, and we're just there going, where's that blooming yes, I want it. And I kind of feel like that at the moment. I'm really exciting. I've got a process. So I suppose this is a habit now, that I'm sending out a certain number of letters each week. I'm looking at varying things, and it's so exciting now because I'm measuring lots of activity. And yes, I haven't necessarily got anything, but I know that, you know, come, let's say 3 months time, if I've got no response from that, I know that I need to go back and look at perhaps the letters, go back and look at perhaps who I'm going to see. But I'm not going to not do it, because I know inherently loads of other people are really successful by doing that. I just might need to do a tweak or something like that. So yeah, I really, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but oh yeah, with the success and the simplicity. And that goes back again to what you were talking about with this repetition. And that has been totally life-changing for me, because I've come from this position of being all over the place throughout my life, always all over the place, always losing stuff, you know, always never fulfilling, never finishing, never doing those things. And suddenly I still have a lot of that. I can't admit to being totally out of it, but there's now a lot of repetition, and Lee knows for a fact that, I mean, I must have been doing it for nearly 2 years, writing every single day. I'm so happy and grateful now that money flows freely and easily to me in increasing quantities from multiple sources on a continuous basis. And that just means on a daily basis, every time a bit of money, every time I spot money on the floor, I just think, oh yeah, money always flows to me, or I know that you know, I know it's coming. I've just got that complete and utter faith that my massive goals, which you instilled in me, I'd gone back I'd gone back, as you know, Lee, to aiming low. And you gave me that confidence to aim high again. And I think that is just an incredibly wonderful gift to be able to give to people, to be able to know that there is a path that you can take. So although we know all of this and we're not necessarily doing it, you can give that path to help us get there, and not just aim at the top of the trees, but to aim for the galaxies. And if we only hit the moon, my word, who wouldn't be happy with that, eh? So yeah, I find it really, yeah, really incredible. So
thank you, Emma, for those kind words. So each of us have so much potential. Like, there's only two sources of reference you can go to understand you, right? The human personality. One is science and the other is theology. And both of those sources, and you can go and study and analyze this, both of those sources tell us that you've got infinite potential. But it's this program in the subconscious, this paradigm that's stopping that perfection from coming to the surface. Now, when I say to someone like you, stretch, you know, set a goal way beyond anything you've ever done, that's because, you know, I know that there's something within you that, gosh, it will surprise the heck out of you. I mean, Emma, I'm sure you've experienced this with the people you're helping and coaching. I've discovered gifts, talents, abilities that I never even knew I had, you know, when I started this journey. Because as you start rewiring, I mean, there's something so powerful within you. We, regardless of what, you know, your religious affiliation is, we believe that, you know, you are part of this infinite intelligence, or there's something inside of you that goes way beyond what we can comprehend. And as you start rewiring these ideas in that deep part of your mindset, more of that perfection that's already within you starts coming into the surface. Now, when I heard that, also similar to you, I thought, like, gosh, I mean, that's so far removed. But I promise you, it is true, and you will literally shock yourself as you start aligning your mindset. Well, you first gain understanding and then start aligning your mindset with what it is that you want. Just to touch on what you spoke about, Emma, regarding, the daily habits. Most people are busy with busyness. So they're not busy with carefully directed activity, or we call it goal achieving activity. Activities that are going to move you towards your goal. Most people are busy with, they'll say, my whole day is busy. But if you look at it, is it effective activities you're busy with? Because if you're just busy, you're running in circles, right? You want to have 3 to 6 goal achieving activities. So if your goal is to have 10 rent-to-rent units or 10 rent-to-rent apartments, whatever it is, I don't know necessarily the exact language you use in your world, Emma, but let's say you want 10. You want to be reaching out to people every day, right? Maybe it's 10 a day, and if you're tracking your activity, okay, if I speak to 50 landlords, I'll sign up 2 people. If I speak to 25, I'll sign up 1 person. So I'll get 24 no's statistically, if I look back, before I get a yes. So if you know that, okay, if I reach out to 50 people a week, that is 2 yeses a week, and 8 to 10 a month. But the thing is, you've got to do that regardless of how you feel on the day, whether you feel like doing it or you don't feel like doing it. And here's also the thing. You've got to go into those discussions with those individuals with the right mental attitude. And that is so key. You mentioned it earlier, Emma. Selling is serving. And when you serve, you go in with an attitude of service. The universe will reward you. You are putting in motion a law of the universe it's going to. So here's how you do it. Instead of seeing that prospect or that property investor that you're speaking to, seeing them as a source of income, or seeing them as, I got to make this sale, go into that conversation purely trying to serve them. So the knowledge you've gained in the touchstone environment, give them that knowledge, serve, and people will say, no, this is not, the time's not right, or let's speak at a later date, let's speak. They might try and brush you off, but just do your best to serve them. And I promise you, the good that you're putting out is going to come back to you. So we've also got to, as much as we are reaching out to X amount of people, we've also got to go in with the right mental attitude, because selling is serving. Selling is doing something for someone, not to someone. And, we got to get that right in terms of our belief system around selling. Selling is probably the most honorable thing you can do. If you've got a product or a service that can help someone else, you've got to get yourself out of the way, and you've got to make them aware of it.
Amazing. Well, look, my gosh, top of the hour already. It has been I've really enjoyed that session, Lee. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking your valuable time and coming and helping me to inspire and grow what people can achieve in the property world, which is just a massive goal for me. I think it's so key and important. So yeah, just very much, if you could just mute, Lee, sorry. Just for everybody, as a reminder that this is live on YouTube, so afterwards you will be able to come and see this, listen to it again. As we've talked about repetition, we also, over the next week or so, we break it down into smaller chunks, so you can listen to it again. So please do come and subscribe. Really appreciate that if you could. I'm trying to get, not trying, I'm en route to getting 1,000 subscribers, and I'm currently just gone over 200. So I'm, yeah, on the way there, and pretty excited about that. So I'd really appreciate if you could subscribe. And then I know if you wanted to see Lee again, Lee does, I think it's monthly sessions, is it? Lee, I've put a link, a bit.ly link where you can go and spend another hour with Lee, going through more of these really, really powerful mindset shifts. So yeah, Lee, I will let you just, yeah, and as everyone knows, it is in the middle of the summer here in the UK. So I am taking time out with my family, and I will be back in the early part of September with these. But Lee and I had committed to each other that we would do every month throughout the year, and I'm really pleased. This has been a great day for me, and Rosabella is at dance club having a lovely time, so this has worked out really perfectly. So yeah, I will be back again in September. But Lee, let me just let you finish this off by just briefly telling people where they can find more about you.
Emma, really always great having a chat with you. I look forward to these monthly chats. Okay, so for those of you that are intrigued by, you know, the ideas we were talking about, and you want to know more and you want to go a bit deeper, I'm running a webinar this Thursday. It's called Entrepreneurs, How to Clear the Blocks to Abundance. So we've been speaking about this program in your subconscious, this mindset. And Thursday, we're going to go a bit deeper. I'm going to take you a bit deeper and show you, explain to you how to rewire it, and, you know, really give you more awareness in terms of how this program works. And, you know, we'll use the model of the mind, and there's a couple of really valuable stories that I will share. But if you're intrigued by these ideas and you'd like to go a bit deeper, click on the link that Emma's got here in Clubhouse, and or on YouTube, you know, Facebook, wherever you're streaming this, to click on the link and register and come and join us. It's really going to be a powerful 1 hour together that you don't want to miss. And I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks, Emma.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Take care, guys. Great to see you all. Take care. See you soon.